Do the math right now. USS Tripoli, 3,500 Marines in the Indian Ocean. USS Boxer, 2,500 Marines leaving San Diego. 82nd Airborne, 3,000 elite paratroopers deploying. USS George H.W. Bush, 3rd aircraft carrier leaving Norfolk. That is nearly 10,000 new troops being rushed toward Iran on top of 50,000 already there. And Trump set a deadline of April 6th, 6 days from now. You do not move this many forces for a negotiation. You do not pull the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit off its Japan deployment, order it across the Pacific, transit the Malacca Strait, stop at Diego Garcia, and push it into the Indian Ocean on the way to the Persian Gulf because you think Iran is about to sign a peace deal. You do not accelerate the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit out of San Diego 3 weeks early because talks are going well. You do not deploy the 82nd Airborne Division's Immediate Response Force, the unit that can land anywhere on Earth within 18 hours, to the Middle East because a diplomat needs a notepad. Every single military movement that has happened in the last 10 days points in one direction. And Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, looked at exactly the same movements and said, what every analyst watching this war is now thinking out loud. Our men are waiting for the arrival of the American soldiers on the ground to set them on fire and punish their regional allies once and for all. The Americans are moving toward Iran. Iran is waiting for them. And April 6th is 6 days away. Let us start with the USS Tripoli because the story of this single ship captures everything you need to understand about where this war is heading and why the next 6 days are unlike any 6 days in this conflict so far. The USS Tripoli is an America-class amphibious assault ship. It is 850 feet long. It displaces 45,000 tons. It is essentially a small aircraft carrier that also happens to carry an entire landing force. On its deck right now are F-35B stealth fighter jets, MV-22 Osprey tiltrotor aircraft, Seahawk helicopters, and in its hull, landing craft designed to carry Marines from the ship to a hostile shoreline. It is not a cargo ship. It is not a transport. It is a mobile invasion platform. It left its home port of Sasebo, Japan, on March 13th after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth approved a CENTCOM request for additional support. It transited the South China Sea. It passed Singapore. It crossed the Indian Ocean and stopped at Diego Garcia, the British Indian Ocean territory that serves as America's most important military logistics hub in the region. And on March 27th, it arrived in CENTCOM's area of responsibility, carrying 3,500 Marines and sailors from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit. As of Tuesday, March 31st, CENTCOM confirmed the Tripoli is in the Indian Ocean, moving toward the Persian Gulf, 6 days before Trump's deadline. With 3,500 Marines on board who have been training in amphibious assault operations their entire careers. The ship's name is not accidental. USS Tripoli is named after the Battle of Derna in 1805, the first time American Marines ever fought on foreign soil. The famous line in the Marines' hymn, "From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli," refers to that exact battle. The most modern amphibious assault ship in the American fleet, named after America's first foreign ground war, is sailing toward Iran 6 days before a presidential deadline. You decide what that means. Behind the Tripoli, the USS Boxer is moving. The Boxer is a Wasp-class amphibious assault ship, slightly smaller than the Tripoli but carrying the same essential capability. Its 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit departed San Diego between March 19th and 20th, 3 weeks ahead of its originally scheduled deployment, 3 weeks early. Pentagon officials ordered the acceleration, reportedly because the Trump administration was increasingly weighing a ground operation and wanted the option available. The Boxer carries approximately 2,500 Marines and sailors, along with its own complement of F-35B fighters, Ospreys, helicopters, and landing craft. It is accompanied by the amphibious transport docks USS Portland and USS Comstock. The entire amphibious ready group departed San Diego in the same 48-hour window, according to ship tracking data that was publicly confirmed. The Boxer is not expected to arrive in the CENTCOM area until mid-April at the earliest, given the 1,300-to-800-mile voyage from San Diego. But the fact that it was ordered early, ordered accelerated, ordered to leave ahead of schedule and make the crossing as fast as possible tells you that the decision-makers planning this war are not planning around a diplomatic resolution. They are planning around a military escalation that requires more amphibious capability than one ship can provide. When you have two Marine expeditionary units with a combined 4,500 Marines and sailors in or heading toward the Persian Gulf, and those two units specialize specifically in rapid response, amphibious landings, raids, and assault missions from Navy ships, the strategic logic of what you are preparing for is not ambiguous. Now let us talk about the 82nd Airborne Division, because this is the deployment that military analysts are pointing to as the clearest signal of what the Trump administration is actually planning. The 82nd Airborne is not a Marine unit. It is not designed for ship-to-shore amphibious landings. The 82nd Airborne is the United States Army's Rapid Deployment Force, headquartered at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Its immediate response force can deploy anywhere on Earth within 18 hours of receiving an order. It does not need a ship. It jumps from aircraft directly into a combat zone. It secures airfields, holds key terrain, and provides the rapid ground presence that amphibious forces alone cannot achieve at the speed required. Approximately 2,000 to 3,000 soldiers from the 82nd Airborne's Immediate Response Force have been ordered to the Middle East. The deployment includes the command element and at least 2 infantry battalions. Axios journalist Barak Ravid described it as another significant reinforcement ahead of a possible ground operation. And a defense analyst familiar with the plans told the New York Times the troops would be positioned within striking distance of Iran. The combination of Marine amphibious units designed for ship-to-shore assaults and 82nd Airborne paratroopers designed to jump directly into a combat zone and seize terrain gives you 2 completely different methods of getting American soldiers onto Iranian soil simultaneously. The Marines hit from the sea. The paratroopers jump from the sky. Together, they can execute a 2-axis assault on a specific piece of geography at the same time. That specific piece of geography has a name. It is 16 miles off the coast of Iran. It handles 90% of Iran's crude oil exports, and it is approximately 1/3 the size of Manhattan, Kharg Island. Here is what the intelligence on Kharg Island looks like right now, according to CNN and multiple other sources with access to U.S. intelligence reporting. Iran is not waiting passively for the Marines to arrive. Iran has been laying traps on Kharg Island for weeks. It has moved additional military personnel onto the island. It has deployed shoulder-fired MANPADs surface-to-air missile systems capable of targeting low-flying aircraft and helicopters. It has boosted its air defenses, including radar systems and surface-to-air batteries. It has been doing all of this specifically in response to watching American Marines and paratroopers move toward the Persian Gulf in real time. CNN confirmed that CENTCOM has persistent overhead surveillance of Kharg Island. That means American satellites and reconnaissance aircraft are watching every truck, every missile battery, every troop movement on that small piece of coral around the clock. Iran knows it is being watched. America knows Iran is watching back, and both sides are deploying toward the same geographical point with 6 days left on the clock. Former NATO Supreme Commander Admiral James Stavridis, who serves as a CNN military analyst and who has commanded forces in combat, said he would be very worried about putting American troops on Iranian soil. He described the Iranians as clever and ruthless, saying they will do everything they can to inflict maximum casualties on U.S. forces, both on the ships at sea and especially once ground troops are anywhere in their sovereign territory. An Israeli security source told CNN that the hope is Iran will not take the risk of fighting directly, but will instead target the oil fields on Kharg to deny their economic value, but acknowledge there is no way to know. You cannot war-game Iranian decision-making with precision. You can only position your forces and wait to find out. Trump's own statements about Kharg Island over the past 72 hours reveal the specific geography of his military thinking in a way that should be deeply understood by every American watching this conflict. On Sunday night, in his Financial Times interview, Trump said, "Maybe we take Kharg Island, maybe we do not. We have a lot of options," and that taking it would mean U.S. forces would have to be there for a while. He also said he does not think Iran has any defense there, and that we could take it very easily. That last statement is the one that concerns every military expert who has looked at the intelligence. Iran has been reinforcing Kharg specifically because Iran knows Trump is thinking about it. Retired Army officer Michael Eisenstadt told the Washington Post directly that he would not want to be in that small place with Iran's ability to rain down drones and maybe artillery. He described seizure of Kharg as coming with significant peril and suggested a smarter approach might be coastal raids to destroy Iran's maritime weapons near Hormuz without going after the island itself. A senior fellow for land warfare at the International Institute for Strategic Studies named Reuben Stewart told CNBC that what is notably absent from the current American force posture are the heavy armored units, logistics depth, and command structures required for a prolonged land war. His analysis is that the current force is built to act quickly and selectively, but cannot sustain operations deep inside Iran over an extended period. That assessment points directly at Kharg: a quick raid, a temporary seizure, enough leverage to force Hormuz open, then leave. That is the military plan being described by every analyst with access to the details. The question is whether Iran has read the same analysis and decided to make leaving impossible. The third aircraft carrier heading toward the Middle East adds a dimension to this story that most coverage has not adequately analyzed. The USS George H.W. Bush carrier strike group departed Norfolk, Virginia, and is heading to the CENTCOM area. When it arrives, the United States will have 3 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers operating within striking distance of Iran simultaneously. That has not happened since major sustained combat operations in recent decades. The last time the U.S. assembled 3 carrier strike groups in a single theater was during periods of the most intensive military operations in its modern history. A single carrier can generate approximately 120 sorties per day under high-tempo operations. 3 carriers pushing simultaneously can generate strike waves that overwhelm even sophisticated air defenses. The George H.W. Bush deployment is partly a logistics rotation to relieve the Gerald R. Ford, which has been at sea for nearly 11 months and suffered a fire in its laundry area. But the timing of the Bush's departure, coinciding exactly with the deployment of 2 Marine expeditionary units and the 82nd Airborne with 6 days until Trump's deadline, means whatever its logistical purpose, its operational effect is a massive escalation in American strike capability arriving at the exact moment the ground operation clock is ticking. 3 carriers, 2 Marine expeditionary units, 82nd Airborne paratroopers, 50,000 troops already in the region, all converging on the same deadline, all pointed at the same geography. 62% of Americans oppose a ground invasion of Iran, according to an Associated Press poll. Only 12% support it. That public opinion number is the political reality that Trump has to navigate alongside the military planning. He has publicly said repeatedly that he is not putting troops anywhere. He said it in the Oval Office on March 20th. He told reporters, "I am not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly would not tell you." White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters the Pentagon preparations give Trump maximum optionality and do not mean a decision has been made. Rubio said the U.S. can achieve all its objectives without ground troops. And simultaneously, the Pentagon has war-gamed the Kharg Island operation, positioned 2 Marine expeditionary units with amphibious landing capability, deployed 82nd Airborne paratroopers, and has CENTCOM watching Kharg Island around the clock. One of the officials who spoke to the Washington Post described it precisely. "This is not last-minute planning. We have looked at this. It has been war-gamed." Rubio saying no ground troops and the Pentagon having a war-gamed ground operation ready are not contradictory positions. They are the classic pre-operation posture. Deny publicly, prepare privately, execute when the moment comes. The question is whether April 6th is the moment, and only one person can answer that question. And he told a reporter on Sunday night that the talks are going extremely well, but that you never know with Iran because we negotiate with them and then we always have to blow them up. Iran's response to the military buildup has been to simultaneously engage in both diplomatic signaling and military escalation, a dual-track strategy that reveals Tehran understands exactly what April 6th means. On the diplomatic side, Iran allowed Pakistani-flagged ships through Hormuz. Iran is engaging with the Islamabad process through intermediaries. Iran has not formally walked away from the diplomatic track, even while denying direct negotiations exist. On the military side, Iran fortified Kharg with MANPADs and traps. Iran burned the Al-Salmi tanker in Dubai Harbor. Iran warned that all American bases in the region are now legitimate targets. Iran's Navy chief threatened the USS Abraham Lincoln carrier group by name. Iran's parliament speaker said American soldiers will be set on fire and their regional allies punished forever. Iran's IRGC said they would no longer distinguish between American and Israeli actions, designating every American base in every Gulf state as a target. That is not the behavior of a government that believes a deal is coming in 6 days. That is the behavior of a government preparing its population and its military for a new and more violent phase of a war it believes is about to escalate beyond airstrikes. Iran is telling its people and its military the truth as Iran sees it. American soldiers are coming, we are ready, we will set them on fire. The gap between that message and Trump's deal is coming soon. Message is the most dangerous gap in geopolitics right now. What happens on April 6th shapes the entire trajectory of this war and of the American economy for the rest of 2026. If Iran opens Hormuz and agrees to the core elements of America's 15-point proposal before April 6th, the Marines stand down, the deadline passes, and the world begins the long, slow process of getting oil prices back towards something manageable. If Iran does not open Hormuz and Trump orders the ground operation, American Marines and paratroopers land on Iranian soil for the first time since 1979. Iran retaliates with everything Ghalibaf described, and this war enters a phase that no analyst, no diplomat, and no oil market model has fully priced in. And if Trump extends the deadline a fourth time without a deal or a military action, the credibility of every future American threat in every future geopolitical confrontation takes a blow from which it will not quickly recover, while oil markets price in an even longer period of Hormuz closure and energy prices continue to climb toward the record. 3 options. 6 days. 10,000 new American troops moving toward the Persian Gulf. Iran waiting on Kharg Island with MANPADs and traps. And the most important military decision Donald Trump has made in his entire presidency not yet made. This channel has tracked every military movement, every diplomatic claim, every deadline, and every escalation of this war from the first hour. The community watching this has understood what the mainstream media has been catching up to for 5 weeks. Drop a comment right now telling us what you think happens on April 6th. Does Trump order the ground operation? Does a deal get done? Does the deadline get extended again? Your analysis of what happens next has been more accurate than most of the paid experts on cable news. And this is the call that determines everything about this war from here.